Hello and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me for today's show. Well, today we're starting a whole new chapter. We are starting Matthew chapter 14, and we're going to look at verses 1 and 2 today. And in this section, this first section, we're going to read about John the Baptist, specifically his beheading by Herod. But first we're going to get a brief history lesson. Again, Matthew chapter 14, verses 1 and 2 say, "At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, 'This is John the Baptist, who has been raised from the dead. That is why these powers are at work in him.'" That's why these powers are at work in him. And so, just like the scriptures say, Herod was a tetrarch. What that means is he was one of 4 rulers over the 4 districts in Israel, in Palestine. And his territory included, the regions of Galilee, Perea, and he's the son of another Herod that we read about at the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. He's son of Herod the Great. And Herod the Great ordered the execution of all those babies in Bethlehem in Matthew chapter 2, verse 16. Now, this Herod here that we're reading about today, Herod the Tetrarch, is also known as Herod Antipas. And he presided over, he heard Jesus' case just before the crucifixion in Luke 23, verses 6 through 12. And in verse 2, where Matthew tells us, that Herod said, Jesus is John the Baptist that's come back from the dead. Well, he obviously misunderstood who Jesus was, who Jesus claimed to be. And I think he had a little bit of a guilty conscience for killing John the Baptist in the way that he did. As we're going to read later on in this account, John called him out for adultery. And John called him out for adultery. And his wife, who was also his brother's wife, called for his head after being pleased by a sensuous dance by his niece, his stepdaughter. So it's a whole crazy situation here that's going on. So we have a guilty conscience, and basically we have him in a line of rulers that weren't morally upright, if you will. That's putting it nicely. So that's a little history lesson on these first couple verses. We'll get deeper into this as the days come. But thank you for joining me in this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. Hope you have a great day. And we'll catch you tomorrow as we go into more detail about what happened with John the Baptist. And that's going to happen all the way up through verse 12. So thank you. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. Take care.